Hi everybody, this is a video overview of this knife, and this knife is the Buck Mini Spitfire. The Spitfire was a knife that was released, I believe, either last year or the year before, so either 2012 or 2013, and it was designed to be sort of an everyday carry knife in the Buck lineup. It was significantly bigger than this knife. It's about 3¼ inches or 3½ inches, and this blade is exactly 2.75 inches long. The knife runs a lockback. It has aluminum handle scales. It has a green aluminum backspacer. It has a bent steel clip with this hump here. In addition, it has a thumb oval to open the knife, and the steel is Buck's 420HC. The knife came really sharp. It is a very distinctive hollow grind. It's very, very, very thin towards the end, and it has one heck of a cutting edge. I mean, it's just very, very sticky. Buck knows how to sharpen knives. Even from the factory, they do a very, very good job. I like the steel. I think 420HC from Buck is quite good. It performs much better than 420 from other companies such as Kershaw and Leatherman, but it's not a premium steel, but it will do the job. The aluminum handles here, they're fine. I mean, they're very, very slick. This isn't really jimping, but again, I'm not a believer that every knife has to have jimping, but if you're going to do something like this, you probably should have something. The jimping here is sort of non-functional. Just not exactly sure what they think it is, but it's terrible. And the jimping here is sort of off-center, so like if you're holding the knife like this, you're going to miss it unless you have really fat, wide thumbs. And I don't think people, well, there's some jimping here, and it is purposeful, and it will work. Overall, I really dislike this knife. This is really, really ugly. It's just ugly. It's an ugly knife. Open, it's ugly. Closed, it's ugly. I mean, the thumb oval being the shape it is, sort of this nondescript. It's not really an oval. It's not really a circle. It's just nothing. It kind of looks bleh. And then the blade shape. Like, I don't know why they put the swedge here. It just looks busy and unnecessary. This sort of arcing curve to the grind, it doesn't really match anything else on the knife. It looks cheap. It really does look cheap. And this wasn't a budget knife. I mean, it was 35 bucks. You can probably find it somewhere for 20 bucks. But the green backspacer is a nice touch. But here's some of the things that I really dislike about the knife. So, for example, let's see if I can get this to work. There you go. You can see it. It's not a flow-through design, but the fit and finish between the lock bar and the handle scales is so poor that you can see things through the knife. I mean, like, you can see my finger all the way through the knife. It's terrible. There is a little bit of up and down blade play. There's no side-to-side blade play. But here, listen to this. You take that. There is a massive amount of side-to-side blade play. And what that tells me is that the lock bar's tension, the spring tension, is really holding this knife in place. And as that wears over time, there will be an enormous amount of blade play. I mean, like, it's not even close. I mean, like, I'm capable of wiggling this thing like 1/4 inch at the tip. And this is only a 2.75 inch blade. It's just really, really poorly put together. If you look here, this is something that I don't really understand. There's a huge gap between the backspacer and the handle scales. And while this is the kind of stuff that doesn't necessarily affect performance, what it does tell you is that over time, when things get looser and wear out, that will affect performance. I mean, if they can't get the backspacer flush with the scales from the factory, and they can't get the blade play out of the blade, from the factory, and there's like a noticeable gap between the blade or between the lock bar and the handle scales, and this is like virtually brand new. Over time, when it wears in, all of that slop and all of that poor fit and finish is going to affect performance. Like, I would imagine that this knife will very soon have some pretty serious blade play. Another thing that I want to get to is the pocket clip. This is one of the worst pocket clip designs I have ever seen. First of all, it's really ugly. This is just like par for the course. Everything about the Spitfire is ugly, but the pocket clip is really ugly. With these 3 screws here, the arc to it, it's ugly. But, like, I can live with ugly pocket clips. There are a lot of knives that have ugly pocket clips. This is a beautiful knife that has an ugly pocket clip. But, this is just especially ugly. There's really hardly any way to get around that. I could deal with the ugliness, though. This This is designed, apparently, to scrape the paint on your car or scrape the paint off the door jambs in your house. I don't know what this is for. It's not like a double dip like on a Sebenza clip. I guess it might be a way to allow the knife to hook on to thicker material like blue jeans, and this could accommodate the seam in the pocket of the blue jeans. But there are like 100 ways to do this that are much better than this. I mean, every way that I could think of is better than this, because what this is doing is this is placing like a really prominent, scrapey, point on your knife right around where you like walk through doors, walk next to cars. I mean, this is just awful, and I've already dinged up a couple of doors in my house, and I've only carried this knife for like, I've had it for a week, and it's just a piece of garbage. I hate this clip. I hate the way the knife looks. The aluminum handle scales are fine. I mean, they're kind of cool. They're finished nicely. They have some brushed finish to them. The logo is very neatly done there. But I would never recommend this knife. I mean, for the same amount of money as this knife, you get something like this, the Cryo G10, which is like 100,000 times better. 100,000 times. It's not even close. I mean, they're virtually different products, not even the same product class. This knife is made in America, but given that I am an American, I would not brag about this, because this thing is just a piece of garbage. It's ugly, it has poor fit and finish, it has some really crappy design features. I would just avoid this knife at all costs. The one thing that I would note is it is a really nice size. Like, look, you can get a full 4-finger grip here. You got a good place for a finger. It's ugly. I like the handle shape, but everything else is ugly. And we know that Buck can do good knives. We know that Buck can do good cheap knives. We know that Buck can do good cheap knives made in America, because they did the Vantage line, and those are really good knives. But again, just like with the Vantage, there's some real fit and finish issues. I mean, let's see if I can show you the blade centering. I mean, it's pretty clearly off there. I mean, it's definitely over to one side, but this is a video overview of the Buck Spitfire, and a review, which I will guarantee right now is going to be a bad review because this is a piece of garbage, will be coming soon.